boys and girls, it's Miss Davies here, so we are sending lots and lots of love to all of you at home because we're really, really missing you. It's not the same in school without you. It's really, really quiet. So, I thought today we would read one of my favourite stories. This is especially for year one, but anyone can listen if you're at home and you think, oh, do you know what? I miss story time at school. So let's have a look at the clues. We've got a really big shirt here. Have a think. A really big shirt. What story could that be from? We've got a long belt. A scarf. And some really big shoes. Have a think. What story could that be from? I know some of you might see a little clue here, and it's one of my favourites. So today we're going to read The Smartest Giant in Town. Shall we start? George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same old brown sandals and the same old patched up gown. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said. But one day, George decided to go to the shop. It was full of smart new clothes, so he bought a smart new shirt, a smart pair of trousers, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some smart socks with diamonds up the side, and a pair of smart, shiny shoes. Now I'm the smartest giant in town, he said proudly. George left behind his old clothes. He was about to go home when he heard a sound. On the pavement stood a giraffe who was sniffing sadly. What's the matter? Asked George. It's my neck, said the giraffe. It's so very long, it's so very cold. I wish I had a warm scarf. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his stripy tie. It didn't match my socks anyway, he said, as he wound it round and round the giraffe's neck. It's a wonderful scarf. Thank you, said the giraffe. As George strode towards home, he sang to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, but look me up and down. I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who was bleating loudly. What's the matter? Asked George. It's my sail, said the goat. It blew away in a storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his new white shirt. It kept coming untucked anyway, he said to himself as he tied up as the mast on the goat's boat. It made a magnificent sail. Thank you, said the goat. George strode on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. But look me up and down. I am the smartest giant in town. George came to a tiny, ruined house. Beside the house stood a little white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking. What's the matter? Asked George. It's our house, squeaked the mother mouse. It burned down and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a nice new house. Cheer up, said George, as he took off one of his shiny shoes. Oh, it was giving me blisters anyway, he said, as the mouse and her babies scrambled inside. The shoe made a perfect home for them. Thank you, she squeaked. George hopped along the road, but he didn't mind. As he hopped, he sang to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a campsite. Beside a tent stood a fox who was crying. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my sleeping bag," said the fox. "I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his socks with diamonds up the side. "It was tickling my toes anyway," he said, as the fox snuggled in. It made a very fine sleeping bag. "Thank you," said the fox. George hopped on, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a big squelchy bog. Beside the bog stood a dog who was howling. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's this bog," said the dog. "I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck in the mud. I wish there was a safe, dry path." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his smart new belt. "It was squashing my tummy anyway," he said, as he laid it down over the bog. "It made an excellent path." "Thank you," said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. My belt held a dog who was crossing a bog. But my trousers are falling down. I'm the coldest giant in town." Suddenly, George felt sad and shivery and not smart at all. He stood on one foot and thought, "I'll have to go back to that shop and buy some more clothes." He turned around and hopped all the way back to the shop. But when George got there, it was closed. "Oh no!" cried George. He sank down onto the doorstep and a tear ran down his face. He felt as sad as all the animals he'd met on his way home. Then, out the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something inside. George took a closer look. "My gown!" he yelled. "My dear old gown and sandals!" George put them on. They felt wonderful and comfortable. "I'm the cosiest giant in town," he cried, and danced all the way back along the road. Outside his front door stood all the animals that he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. "Come on, George," they said. "Open it, open it." George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and card. "Look inside the card, George," said the animals. George put the crown on his head and opened the card. Inside it said, "You gave your scarf to a cold giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. You helped a dog who was crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and gown of the kindest giant in town." And that's the end of our story. We'll have another story for you soon. Bye.